3-minute Friday. Maximum information in the shortest amount of time. Let's get started. Does, and if yes, how much, have the width of the arrow pass affect on your Khatra? I have no idea, so let's find out. And today we test, for this purpose, a bow with a very wide arrow pass. It's a Korean bow. It's 23-4 millimeters something. And this is one of the narrowest arrow passes I have right now. It's from the Tsuran. It's 18 millimeters. Of course, we have even a slight different, but it's not so much. It's an inch different brace height. I simply shoot 3 arrows. This one is a 40 pound at 28 and the Dragon is 40 pound at 31, so it's a little weaker, but it doesn't matter. It's simply the matter to see. It's not a comparison between these two. It's simply to see if the width has an effect, and that's why it doesn't matter which arrows we shoot today. 3 arrows without Khatra and then 3 arrows with 3 arrows with my normal Khatra I normal do, and then maybe we do some torque, and then we do the same with the Korean bow. 3 arrows, no Khatra, 10 meters. Three arrows with my normal side down Khatra. And now we try simply a little bit of torque, no Khatra. It's kind of Khatra too, but it's torque. For me, the most predictable right now was my way of Khatra. Now the wide arrow pass, no Khatra. And I hold the bow relatively upright, so we see what the arrow is doing. Same minimal side down Khatra as I usually do, so nothing overly fancy. And now obviously it's a Korean bow, we shoot torque. Torque feels good with this bow, but I didn't see now any difference. You only saw that due to the width of the arrow pass, when I always point at the center. Here the arrows go a little more to the right. With a narrow arrow pass they go a little more to the left. That's all for now. So my conclusion so far, I applied the same amount of Khatra or torque with both bows and I didn't see any difference. What would maybe make a difference is the depth of the arrow pass. So this is very narrow, so when you go on a side, the arrow is gone. Here it's a little deeper, but still you put the arrow out of the way and it's fine. What can happen maybe when you have a bow like this, very narrow arrow pass, but it's extremely deep. So when you do here, kind of see, and then you can, when you put the bow out of the way, that you deflect the arrow with your deep arrow pass. Didn't happen to me now because it goes so quickly. You really need to time it properly. So for me, for now, it doesn't make any difference, and especially why should it? It doesn't matter if the arrow pass is narrow. I point to the target, the bow points to the side, but it doesn't matter. A wide arrow pass, I point to the target, the bow points maybe a little more away, but still the arrow points to the target, so it doesn't matter. And here, very narrow arrow pass, and still I point at the target with my arrow. I line this up so the bow is slightly off center. So that's why, for me, it doesn't make a big difference. Would be interesting to hear your opinions and your experiences. Did you see any difference when you shoot a bow with a narrow arrow pass and your Khatra, and you shoot then a bow with a wide arrow pass and you do your Khatra? Is there any difference? I simply need to adapt to the fact that narrow arrow pass, when I point at the target instinctively, the arrows go a little to the left. Then I swap the bow and I have a wide arrow pass. The arrow goes a bit to the right. It's simply geometry. You see this, then you see how far the arrow is pointing away, especially with a short brace sight. When you see this one here, it's almost straight, so the angle is way less because we have a very narrow arrow pass and a bit more brace sight, so the arrow is not that far off like with the Korean. But this is, you shoot an arrow and then you know what it does. So for me, width of the arrow pass doesn't have any effect on how I perform Khatra or torque. It might have, as said, if your arrow pass is very deep and you do something that you deflect the arrow, but usually I didn't figure any difference. Scusa, I hope that is not now disappointing. I have no groundbreaking things to tell you. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you in the next one.